Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be working on just a couple of smaller projects. Starting here in the greenhouse, we are going to plant up a centerpiece for the table in the Hartley. I've got some really pretty plants to work with for that. And then we are going to go out and dig up a Bathsheba climbing rose and we're going to replant it. So first off, we've got Cheddar, we've got Douglas, and we've got Russell. All three of them, which means we'll probably have some fight in here at some point. So far they're doing okay. So this is the container we're using, low and wide. I love containers like that. I've used this so many times for fairy gardens, other centerpieces. I've got a pretty selection of plants, different shades of green, and the beautiful white cyclamen. Look at that. It's so pretty. We've got Irish moss, which is actually a perennial down to zone 4, negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. In our area where we're high desert and dry, this needs to be in a more shaded location to thrive. Or, I mean, it can handle more sun if it gets a lot of water. We've got a beautiful asparagus fern right here, which I'm now noticing these two look very similar, so opposite corners of this container if we decide to use both. And we've got a wire vine. Also this driftwood, which is one of the more important pieces of this container. I think using like a stone or a piece of beautiful wood through a container like this really adds some extra architectural interest. I think it's beautiful. I brought a couple other pieces just in case I want to work them in some other way. A couple other things I like about this bowl. I like using a gray bowl in a situation like this because it allows the plants to really shine, and because I'm not using anything with super bright color, it's a really nice kind of peaceful contrast. This one also has a drain plug in the hole. I could take it out and create a draining container, but in this case, I'm putting it on a surface that I want to protect. So I'm going to make this a non-draining container. I'm also going to be using some of this putty. It's kind of like plumber's putty. We get it for fountains down at the garden center, but I'll be putting a piece of that around it as well to make sure I don't have any water leaking, and I'll put a piece of like saran wrap underneath just to like double the efforts or triple the efforts, I guess. Now, I've talked about non-draining containers a lot in the past. I just haven't done one in a little while. It's absolutely something you can do, but it's something that you want to be very mindful of. You have to be incredibly careful when you're watering it. You want to put non-draining containers in a very controlled climate, so not outside for sure. Not somewhere where it can receive rain and then let it pool up, or if it's in the way of a sprinkler or something like that, that's not a good idea. In this case, it's going to be inside the Hartley. It's going to be in an area where the only water it will get is from me. Also, not a super great idea if you are a beginner gardener. You need to kind of be able to read plants a little bit, to look at a plant and know if it needs water or if it's getting too much. It's something that you have to constantly kind of finger test the soil and make sure you're not giving it too much moisture. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that yes, this one's not going to be draining, but it can be done. I've done it lots and lots of times. And oftentimes with centerpieces like this will be like a winter centerpiece, and then we'll swap it out later. So it's not something that I want to keep in here forever or even for a full year. It's something that'll just be in here for a few months before I take the plants out, do something else with them, and make a new centerpiece for the table. I'm going to be using these furniture movers. These are so handy. I'm going to use 3 of them underneath the container. So again, I protect the surfaces that it's going on. Can't remember what kind of stone this table is, but it is stone. It can scratch. And I think with like a concrete container, a lot of times around the drainage hole, there can be like little jagged edges, and I don't want to scratch the table. So I think raising it up on a few of these, it'll help protect the surface. Plus they're so skinny and they're close to the same color. I don't think you'll really notice it. You won't notice it like you would notice a saucer. I wish every pot came with a saucer that matched it. That would just solve so many problems, but it's often not the case, and I don't really want to put a plastic saucer under this one this time. So let's get this thing planted and move to the Hartley, and then we'll take a close look at it and kind of the surroundings. you guys, it turned out so pretty. I love it. Look at that. It's so fun to have something fresh sitting here. Oh, hopefully they do okay right beneath the fan, because we've got one going and we have to keep that going. I've got the shades pulled on the south side of the Hartley. The sun kind of goes down this way during the fall and winter. So we'll probably keep those pulled for a good portion of it and until it gets a lot cooler outside. Today it's 76. I mean, October 20 something and 76 degrees outside. And it gets quite a lot warmer in here. And you guys know we have an AC unit, but we don't keep it running like full blast. We just keep it running on those days where it's 100 plus just to take the edge off. So it still gets quite warm in here. Yes, he used this opportunity to sneak in. You're not usually loud in here, huh? With those shades pulled, it'll just, I think, really like it. In this spot, Russell, for crying out loud. You know what? I will give you loves in just a minute. I want to show off this arrangement. I ended up using the asparagus fern, 2 cyclamen. You guys, this is one of the cyclamen that we bought on one of our shopping trips this winter. Oh, for crying out loud. The top died completely back and then it flushed back out with some really sweet leaves and blooms. Like, it has the potential to get this size, but it's just nice and petite right now. And I love that we have the big one and the small one. And then I wanted to create just a very soft, like grass floor, moss floor, I guess. And I think there's just a lot of peace in that. It's very restful, but I worked in a few little stones just to break it up. And then as we move around, it's interesting from all angles, I think. Let's get to this side. Tucked in one little piece of moss here, then rocks, varying sizes of rocks, another piece of moss, and more rocks around the base of the asparagus fern. So it's pretty and interesting from all directions, which is perfect when, you know, you're sitting on all sides of it. And if we take a look down below, you can see the little furniture movers down there, but we can scoot it around if we need to, which is really nice. It's not going to damage this table, which, you know, I have scratched a little bit. We've done quite a number of projects out here. So, you know, I expected it. It is a greenhouse after all, but it's really fun to have this little space to sit, especially in the winter months. We'll use it a heck of a lot more. And I've kind of been working on clearing out corners a little bit because, and you can see I cleared this one out. The middle level here, I had some of the Lonicera that were looking a little sad, so I cut them back and put them in the greenhouse. Then I'm going to be moving stuff around because this is where our Christmas tree is going to go. So I've been kind of cleaning out and moving things around, shifting so that we can just move this out temporarily to have the Christmas tree, then we'll probably move it back in, but everything else is looking really pretty. In fact, I figured that while we were in here, I think we're gonna go ahead and fertilize because it's been a little bit since we have done that. So this is what I'm gonna use right here. We've got our indoor fertilizer, and then right under the sink, we've got our watering can and this little vacuum. I don't know if I've showed this to you yet. It's so handy. So this is just a little battery operated DeWalt. We chose DeWalt because we've got a lot of batteries already because of our other tools. And it's so nice to not have a cord. Let me take this off. And I love that I can just do, like, see that junk right there? Gone. So it's really easy to reach, you know, back in here in this sort of space. And you can reach up and get cobwebs and such. Been really handy. So that is what is beneath our counter, the vacuum and the watering can. And this is just a 2 or 2.5 gallon watering can. So we'll just mix up the fertilizer based on the instructions on the bottle, and we'll get everything done and fertilized today. All right, everything has been fertilized, including our new arrangement. And because this is so new and the plants are in a new environment and they are under a fan, I'm gonna be checking on this every single day just to kind of get an idea of what it's gonna need from me and how often it's gonna need water. So what I will do to check the soil, there's kind of like a little opening. You can stick your finger down in there, and because this is a really shallow bowl, it'll be very easy to tell what the water saturation level is in there, and then I can just add a little bit of water as needed. I anticipate these needing a little bit more water than everything else, but I can kind of target water those. I think it'll work out. Okay, well, now that is done, so we can go out and take care of this rose. Now, this is a Bathsheba. I don't know if I already mentioned that. It's a climbing rose, a David Austin climbing rose that I planted in the north garden before we demolished it to make way for the pond. I thought it went. I thought it was gone because the whole area was leveled. And all of a sudden, I started seeing this rose growth come out from the roots from underneath the ground. And then I thought, well, couldn't remember if it was an own root or not. So we waited for it to bloom, and sure enough, it's blooming true to variety. Look at how gorgeous that is. Oh, it's got such a wonderful scent. Oh, so good. So we're gonna dig that out, and we're gonna take it out to the fence around the orchard, and that's where it's gonna go. And then we'll have to come back later to take care of the rest of this stuff. There's a little bit of anemone right here. I think this is a Fall in Love Sweetly. A little bit more anemone. There's a daylily that I don't think I planted. I think it was here when we moved in. And then these roses, I'm not sure. I don't think it's from the same rose. There was some other light yellow roses in the same area, so that could be, I might just leave those and see what they do before we go to the trouble of moving them. And since we're out here, let's go see if we can find the frogs. It's so pretty out here. Ugh. Usually I scare them and they start swimming away. There's one over there. Oh, we missed it. Dang it. There's the fish. And you guys know the other day when we were out here and I counted the fish, because I do every day. I've done roll call with these fish. We started off with 6 koi and the 1 high fin banded shark, and then Greg brought 4 more koi, so that makes 10 koi. I'm still counting 11. I have no idea where the 11th came from. It's a mystery. I think it'll remain a mystery. I have no idea. They sure are fun though, and they're growing. Yeah, still counting 11. That's the weirdest thing. Okay, let's get this next project done. I did bring my rose gloves out. These aren't actually legit rose gloves. They have a pair, Felco has a pair that they call rose gloves that are all leather, but these work really well. All right, here it is. I cut all of the top growth off, almost all of it anyway, because I barely got any roots at all. Thankfully, they're a fairly resilient plant, so I'm hoping by cutting off that top growth, this plant will only have to support just a tiny little bit, and then it can just chill for the winter, and hopefully next spring it breaks dormancy, because I think it will be gorgeous here. I cut off the blooms that it did have just so you could see what they might look like crawling on this fence one day. Look at those. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh. I planted a climber on the other side of the orchard. I'm gonna go show you guys how it's doing because it's the one that struggled for a little bit. Now the plant itself looks really good, and we did enjoy some blooms off of it. You can see it right there. Looks like I need to do a little bit of training, and it doesn't have any blooms on it right now, but it's a really full bloom, like multi-petal bloom pink. It's such a pretty one. But with this type, what I do is I take and weave them in and out of the fence, kind of like you can see right here. And I'll do the same thing with that one once I have my gloves back on, because ooh, that one's got some big time thorns. And toward the back here, we have a sensation honeysuckle. Blooming and smelling awesome back here. And you guys, that is it for our projects today. I've got to go around and do some watering. Of course, watering is very minimal this time of year, so a lot of times it's just going and looking at stuff, making sure it doesn't need water. We've got a few plants still left in the high tunnel, a few in the greenhouse, not many. I think this year we made it through the bulk of what we have, and we're wintering over far less than we normally do, which is so wonderful. That's kind of the position you want to be in. But getting especially the transplanting project done today, that feels really good, because all of those little projects that we can get done in the fall and then we don't have to mess with in the spring, it's amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.